Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a beautiful day in Cape Porpoise. My name is Wendy Emmons, and at a very young age, I realized that I get seasick. And that's no laughing matter if you get seasick. All I wanted to be was my dad's bait girl, but that was not in the cards for me. Every time I tried, he would end up driving his boat into Turbot's Creek and unloading me, green as could be. That's all right. So I settled for being chief sawdust sweeper in his shop, where he would spend countless hours sawing oak for his wooden lobster traps. That's when they had wooden lobster traps. I come from a long line of Maine fishermen. It's not a surprise that I married a fifth-generation Cape Porpoise lobsterman, who's now tuna fishing today. He'd better catch one. Growing up on Turbot's Creek Road, I am the youngest of four, which was definitely to my benefit. I learned from their mistakes and made mental notes on what not to do. My parents' biggest challenge with me was carting me back and forth to play practice. I attended consolidated school right down the street, and that was when it was kindergarten through 8th grade. It is now kindergarten through 5th grade, so you can imagine how crowded it was. When I was in 1st grade, an amazing thing happened to consolidated school. A new music teacher came to town, and that was the beginning of my music career. This music teacher inspired and encouraged students, wrote songs about the local history, and taught us not to be afraid on stage. He wrote musicals which included every child, whether they could sing or not. If they couldn't sing, like my husband, he would just tell them, smile and say peas and carrots, which my husband did. He taught us to play the recorder and march in the Memorial Day parade, wearing old-fashioned skirts and bonnets and knickers, holding our heads high. And best of all were the talent shows, where our personalities would truly shine through. I now realize how his teachings and talents encouraged our school and student body to be united. We all supported each other. Every voice in line depended on us working together. This music teacher was the music man of the Kennebunks. You guys are good. If not for him, I believe my journey would be very, very different. My journey has always involved music. We constantly had music playing at home. Whether my parents were dancing in the kitchen to Elvis, the Commodores, or the Beatles, they still do that, or my older siblings listening to The Blend, Supertramp, Eric Clapton, Bonnie Raitt, REO Speedwagon. Personally, at the time, my favorite was Donna Summer and Elton John. And we never missed Saturdays with Dick Clark on American Bandstand. Graduating from Consolidated was bittersweet. I wondered what kind of a music teacher would I have in high school, and who on earth could fill Mr. McClellan's shoes. Well, all through high school, I sang in the choir, the chamber choir, did all of the musicals, which included Oklahoma, Guys and Dolls, South Pacific, The Boyfriend, and never did I find anybody who filled those humongous shoes. Until my fiance and I were in search of a church for our wedding ceremony. I had been baptized at the West Kennebunk United Methodist Church. My mom grew up in West Kennebunk and clearly remembers Monica Lyon's husband as pastor there. Isn't that cool? I remember small snippets of going to church there, then Sunday school at the Kennebunk Port Baptist Church, occasionally here when I would come spend the night at my cousin's house on Mills Road, and snippets at South Congregational, where I was a member in their youth group, and we would do plays, but no place really consistently. So don't ask me why, but I made an appointment to meet with the pastor about our wedding at the Kennebunk Baptist Church. So anyway, Michael and I were on time. I know I usually am not. For this appointment, and we waited, and we waited, and we waited. He stood us up. Yeah, it wasn't funny at the time. So we said, okay, God. That's a sign. We got it, God. This is not the place for us. So Michael said, why are we not looking in our own backyard? I hear there's a new pastor at the church on the Cape. As a child, Michael had attended church and Sunday school here when Lamar Robinson was the preacher. His mom helped teach Sunday school, and Michael tells the story of he and his younger brother getting up early on some Sunday mornings and going way out into the woods behind their house on Mills Road to their fort. And when it was time for church, Michael's mother would call and yell for them, and he would say to his little brother, "Did you hear something?" And his little brother would say, "No, did you?" And I'm not sure how many Sundays they got away with that, but a few. So this new pastor, who Michael had heard about, was named Sherwood Treadwell. We made an appointment, and hallelujah, he didn't stand us up. Reverend Treadwell greeted us and took us to his desk, set up in the parlor, because that was before the new addition and before the new addition. We fell in love with Sherwood Treadwell. He made us feel so comfortable and excited about getting married at Church on the Cape. During our meeting, we spoke a little about the music. Did we want traditional wedding march, etc.? And he mentioned that, oh, we have a wonderful organist. You might know him. He lives just down the road. His name is... Oh, well, that sealed the deal. The next Sunday, I was at church with my 4-year-old nephew, Nick, and I know, Lillian, you remember him. He was the most patient kiddo. We were by far the youngest in the congregation, by far. The following Sunday, you could find me right over there in the choir loft with Eleanor Whitehouse, Jane Anderson, Jean Emborg, Mary Krause, Mary Lou McClelland, Hal Wright, Weedy Falls, Harrison Seavey, and Bob Sterling, with Mr. McClelland as our director and organist. And I must not forget to mention my friend and house trombonist, Mr. Carl Bartlett. I had found home. My new choir family became a huge, huge part of my life. They threw a wonderful wedding shower for Michael and I. Our wedding would never have been complete without them singing that day. And we would all get together 4 to 5 times a year at different houses for potluck dinners. And when I told them I was pregnant with twins, they threw me the most beautiful and thoughtful baby shower ever. I still have the rose bush that was covered in rolled up bills, like leaves tied onto the rose bush, and they ranged from $1 to $20 bills, and it was covered. Oh, I'll never forget that. And speaking of twins, you might know my children, Kyle and Jane. Wave. This is the only church home they know and love. Their first visit was in baby carriers on Christmas Eve, 1999. They were born July 4th, 1999. They were baptized on Mother's Day in 2000 and spent many wonderful, fun-filled Sundays upstairs with Lori Williamson while I sang in the choir. Now, I contemplated on telling this story, but I have to tell it. One Sunday, Lori Williamson, if those of you who remember her, wonderful woman, would sit with my twins down here. They were small. And before going up to Sunday school, of course, she would watch them for me because I would be over there. So one Sunday, I can see everything. So just so you know, I can see everything from over there, okay? I was watching them, and Lori was turned this way, and, you know, the kids were on her other side, and Kyle is picking his nose. And I'm thinking, oh, no. So he retrieves something. And he's going like this to Mrs. Williamson. And she's like, and he goes like this. And she thinks he's saying boo-boo. And she kisses it. That's why I contemplated making that, telling that story. But isn't that a great memory? That's one of my favorites. So anyway, don't let me catch you doing that again. So we have always had to be here an hour prior to church starts so that I could be in the choir, and my children have rarely complained. It's just what we do. And recently they became members of the church after a year-long confirmation study group. They thought that they were not going to like it because it would be too much like studying for school. But guess what? They loved it, didn't you? Yes. And it strengthened their faith so much and their love and commitment to Church on the Cape. Jane is now a counselor for Vacation Bible School. She helps out with the Sunday school and will help out this Saturday with the American Girl Tea Party. She also sings solos and sings solos with the adult choir. Kyle is an acolyte, when I prompt him to be. Helps out with Easter breakfast, hiding eggs, and his sermon notes have been known to make Pastor Ruth tear up. We'll tell that story another time. I'm very proud of my children and the young adults that they have become. There is one story that I do have to share about you, and I wish Bob McLaughlin was here, but he's not, is he? He likes this one. So one Sunday, we were getting ready for church, and Jane came downstairs. They were almost 4 years old, and she came downstairs with her new life preserver on. We had gone shopping the day before for life vests, life jackets, and she thought she was going to wear that to church. It was so brightly colored, she loved it. But I said, Jane, that's for the boat. You have to, you can't wear that to church. She didn't say anything, and she went back upstairs. Well, she came back downstairs with her, not her life jacket, but her windbreaker, zipped way up and very, very puffy. Remember that, Jane? And so I didn't say anything, and off to church we went. And, you have to pick your battles sometimes. So I thought Bob McLaughlin was going to fall over when he saw that. She went the whole, everything. Children's time, everything. She loved her new life jacket. Kyle and Jane were born 11 minutes apart. They're best friends. They watch out for each other. They respect each other. They love each other. And they can't imagine being without each other. I know I'm talking a lot about you. Sorry. The best moment of my entire life was the moment during my first sonogram. I'll never forget this. When the technician asked if we wanted to know about baby A or baby B first. This was the first moment we found out we were having twins. And by far, it was the best moment of my life. Michael and I knew we were doubly blessed at that moment. And it is said that God never gives you more than you can handle. Well, I could have used God to help me with some of those middle-of-the-night feedings for two. For sure. Sleep deprived. So my journey thus far has been wonderful and blessed. I truly believe the saying, if it's to be, then it's up to me. We create our lives according to the choices we make. My choice was to start coming to this church, almost 18 years ago. And that was one of the best decisions I've ever made. I'm so grateful for the people of this church, past and present, who have touched my life and have helped shape my life. We share an amazing bond here as members of this Church on the Cape. Thank you.